Hey, I'm Susanna Lanier, actor and acting coach for over 25 years.
I'm Jess Greenberg, casting director for over 10 years.
We're here to help you navigate this crazy, creative, and sometimes chaotic journey into the film and television world.
We share our insights as to what works.
And invite some pretty spectacular guests to share more ideas to move you on your journey.
So without further ado, let's get into the show.
Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with casting director Maxime Giroux. He has casted everything from feature films to major commercial campaigns in Montreal, in English, and in French. Welcome, Maxime.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Oh, we're happy you're here.
Yes, thank you for being here. Let's jump right in.
Yes.
Okay, so we all know that there's no degree or anything you could take in university to learn how to be a casting director. So can you tell us how you got into this role?
Yes. So I was always wanting to work in the world of entertainment, not knowing what. Had for a very brief moment this wild idea of being an actor, and I actually had a role in a feature film in the 80s when I was 17. And then I quickly realized that this world was not for me. I had made a long list of yes and no's, and the no's was much longer than the yeses. And I ended up doing a bachelor in communications at UQAM. I did the profile television because at that time the profile was divided in four categories, so radio, movies, television, and journalism. And I was basically trained to work somewhere behind the scene in television. And when I got out of school, ended up on a few sets and quickly realized that this was not my place. So did a few things here and there. And then in 95, I moved to Toronto, and I had this light bulb moment with a conversation with a friend, where the person asked me, what actually makes you happy? And the process of casting a few productions was always the moment where I was feeling so comfortable in these waters. And there was a light bulb moment, and contacted an actor friend in Toronto, which gave me the list of all the casting directors, and I cold called every single one of them, asking them if they needed help. And one of them did. It was Kim Everest at Powerhouse Casting. And I was hired to be the assistant of the assistant. And that's how I got my start.
Very cool.
And then in 2000, moved back to Montreal and did the exact same thing. I cold called all the casting directors, and there was a position available at Elite, and I interviewed for it. And then I worked there for more than 8 years. And then I opened my own place 14 years ago, last January. I just celebrated my 14th anniversary.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Amazing.
So that's how I fell into it, basically.
Yeah. Wow. And so you've done features, TV, but commercials is really where you spend most of your time, you would say.
Because of my how I started in the business, I got to experience how the really fast turnaround of commercials, which I enjoyed this tempo. And when I was at Elite, they were mostly doing fiction work. And they were turning down offers to do casting for commercials because they didn't like this fast tempo. And I basically raised my hand and said, I think I'd like to try it out. And I did. And then the word got out in Montreal that there was a francophone working at Elite, which was mostly known as an English-speaking place for English production.
Yeah.
So I started getting calls from Anglophone productions in Toronto on those double shoots where they needed French actors, and also lots of actor commercial, because at the time there was still a lot of productions originating from Montreal. Even in English. Or sometimes I would get, they would cast Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, even for big campaigns that would be shooting in Toronto mostly. For ACTRA, those are the times with the big beer campaigns and alcohol campaigns, and they wanted to find talent from all over Canada. So I was mandated for these castings, and I was continuing working on the fiction work, helping the three ladies at Elite, and we cast a lot of TV shows and feature films, and we even cast a couple of French projects with, especially with Rosina, one of them being Bon Cop Bad Cop. And then when I left, I was mostly known for my my involvement with commercials, and people kept calling, and that I just followed where they. I didn't make any special. I didn't pursue the features. On the French side, there are quite a bit more casting directors, and they're very well established. And I just made an unconscious decision to continue what I was doing, and I quite enjoy it. And I love also working on the fiction world. And I'm always rejoicing when someone calls me about this, but I don't pursue it for that much. It's on me. More. And I love the variety that this kind of tempo offers, and this multitude and variety of projects that I get to work on. It's a commercial is a mini movie. It's every time.
It's wild.
It's a mini movie. We need to tell this very quick story, sometimes in 15 or 30 seconds. And it's a different way of approaching casting than fiction is.
Oh, that's what we wanted to talk about, because you are, I know you do some features and stuff, but you are known in Montreal as the commercial guy. Like, you do a lot of commercials. And I remember when I was working at Elite too, and I remember you did the French commercials. That was your domain. What do you like about working on commercials? Like,
it's a fast tempo. I love this, and also never knowing what the requests were going to be, because I'm surprised. I learn about new things almost daily, because we're depending on the project where we may be asked to get out of the pool of professional actors and find athletes and find people with disability, and find real people when it's they want these people to talk about their experience with the actual product, and also a variety of other things. And sometimes I learn about parkour by casting. I learned that there was still roller skating happening at one point. I thought, stop roller skating. And when I had to find someone that was really good in roller skating, not rollerblading, which is two different things.
Right.
If you're a rollerblader, you may not be a good roller skater, which I've learned through casting. And casting a variety of athletes in every kind of sport imaginable. It's so every time there's something new. And what I love and what's special about commercials is that you have to tell a story in a set amount of time, whether it's 15 or 30 seconds, and you have to immediately know, because you don't have to set up the story. You have to immediately know when you're seeing the actors, what they are portraying. Is this a mom? Is this a lawyer? Is she a secretary? Is she or is it a construction worker or a lawyer or a doctor? Or so immediately we have to know and to be able to tell the story without any kind of background. The luxury we have in fiction work is that we can explain or not, depending on the story, who these people are and why they do the work that they do, which you never get to explore in commercial. So we work in I don't want to call it cliche, but I call it archetypes. So as we say in casting speak, a mom type, for example.
Yes. Yeah.
you know, you see this on breakdown, and we go to the most common denominator of what a mom type would be. There are billions of moms all over the world, but in the commercial world, there's a preconceived idea of what a mom should be, and we have to expand. Now we're trying to expand those horizons. I think in the last few years we've realized we really do need to expand those horizons, but we do have to, for any kind of spectator that is viewing this commercial, they have to understand who this character is just by the very first look, in this situation, of course.
Yeah.
So that's always fun to do, and it's always a challenge, and you get to work with extremely creative people.
Do you find it more pressure to do?
Absolutely.
That's what I thought. It feels like it's a lot of pressure on the commercial.
It's extremely stressful. It's a very, very, my stress level is sometimes quite.
Well, I was going to ask what you don't like about it, and I'm wondering if this
I think it's the stress factor.
Yeah.
The stress factor, because the budgets are sometimes immense. They're spending a lot of money to advertise product, and the stakes are also very important for them. And that's what I try often to make people understand, is like, we're not saving lives, we're selling a product. But for the stakes with the ad agency towards their client, because at the end, the client has to be happy with the result. And who pays for this? The client. We're all paid by the client to produce this commercial, to sell their product. And ultimately, the client has to be happy. And sometimes some clients are more demanding than others. Some process are more treacherous than others in the commercial world.
It's a good word.
Depends, and it changes from project to project.
Yeah.
And as an actor and as a casting director, you must have experience, you know, having to work with a very demanding client, whether it's on set or whether it's on the casting stage, and it's at the casting stage, and it's just sometimes it's not easy, because we're all people, we're all, you know, human, and we all have our little quirks and, you know, foibles, and also it's human relations.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't get along with everyone. We don't understand what people want. Sometimes communications break down, and it's the normal part of the work as well, but we don't talk about this very much. And that adds to the stress as well sometimes.
Yeah, I remember the first time I was scheduling an audition day for commercials, coming from film and TV, where it's like, I give like 10-ish minutes, you know, a little break here, break there. And I was working with another casting director, and they saw the schedule and they're like, that's it? No. Every 2 minutes you're putting someone in. I'm like, oh my God, like we don't have enough people. And like the first time scheduling the audition day, I was like, A, embarrassed, and B, I was like, oh, right. Volume. It's volume. And like,
I mean, it's volume to an extent, and it's very strange how different cities have different expectations, and different countries also have different expectations. When I cast for production with American clients, volume is the key. They want to see loads of people, because the markets that they cast, there are so many actors. And sometimes from the get-go, when I cast a French version of a production, but it's either produced by an American production company, or the client is American and needs to produce that, I have to set up the expectation from the get-go, saying the pool of actors in Montreal is much smaller. That it is in English, it's minuscule compared to Toronto, Vancouver, LA, New York. But on the French side, it's also quite small, because there is a lot of actors on a lot more, I find, on the UDA side than there is on the ACTRA, and just in terms of the membership with UDA and ACTRA. But also the thing is that there are a lot of actors that at a certain level no longer do commercials on the French side. So this reduces the pool of actors, and then of course the conflicts. As a lot of people may not know, when you actually shoot a commercial for, let's say, a car company, a specific, let's say Ford, well, you can't go and shoot another commercial for a Nissan or a Toyota because it's called a conflict. And so you have to, once you've shot that commercial, you have to wait a certain amount of time until you can actually re-audition and get a job for another car commercial. And it's like that for all the products.
Yeah, I remember like doing some commercials and it was always about like the client, and the pressure. And like one of the commercials I was doing, like the morning of the auditions, they're like, okay, because there was like 5 spots and each spot was for a different product and every product had obviously its own casting. And then they wanted to switch which casting went for the products. So, but then everyone already had like, the sides, and I was just like, and it was like, okay, we're auditioning everyone in an hour, so just resend out everything to everyone coming in, and they're just going to audition for like the different products. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, and that pressure is intense. And the client is there in the auditions, and you're just like, oh my God.
I've had, so many auditions of that. Similar things happen to me where it goes from, we forgot to send you the new script, and the client is insisting that the actor reads the new script. As an actor, and then I think you can vouch for this, Susanna, it's very, very,
it throws you and you're frustrated because you've spent, time to learn it. I mean, most of the time commercials, the scripts usually is easy, but every once in a while you get this jargon that you have to learn, and it actually is hard.
And sometimes it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. And then you get something new on sorry, there's a new script. Could you take a look at it? And then you're in a bad mood.
Sometimes you have 10 minutes to look at it,
of course,
and then go into the room and audition.
Yeah,
and that just throws you off.
It totally throws you off.
And I try to ask most of the time, is there a way we can do the audition this way? And then let's do a callback with the new text and allow the actor to be better prepared.
Yeah. Thank you, Maxime. That is
so
very
we try to work for you guys. Sometimes we're told no.
Sometimes you can't. I know.
Sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Or we start the day in the studio with the agency creatives who have not talked that much with the director prior to allowing this production company to produce their commercials, and their visions don't align. So sometimes you have a director that is insisting that it's that way, but of course, the creatives are the creators of that script, and they know their clients, so they're going to insist to get their way. And then, so we start the day one way, and then as the day advances, they get to a compromise and where everyone's happy, but that changes a few things about what was the actor came in, like they changed lines of dialogue on the spot. They do a new line as you enter the room. So you just have, as an actor, to be completely open.
Right.
Yeah.
Be as prepared as you can be, but also be open to changes and to change things on the spot.
Yeah.
And that's an art in itself. And I marvel at actors that are able to,
switch and just go.
We say switch on a dime, basically. It's just it's an art in itself. And the art of auditioning for commercial is also a muscle that all actors have to exercise, and some are very, very good at it. Some never get the hang of it.
Do you have any very memorable commercials that you worked on?
I think one of the most memorable casting and commercial that I ended up was for a Rona, and was for the Olympics a few years ago. And then the concept was a relay race where people were exchanging, instead of exchanging a baton, were exchanging a screwdriver. And they would start in Vancouver, and the relay race would go all over Canada and end up in Halifax. There were 3 different casting directors that were mandated for this job. 1 casting person in Vancouver, 1 in Montreal, and 1 in Eastern provinces. I think it might have been someone in Toronto. I'm not quite sure. And then we had to find all these very almost Olympic level athletes to do different sports as they're carrying this screwdriver baton.
Okay.
In my section, I had to find that was someone that was diving from a 10-meter board with the screwdriver in their mouth.
Oh my God.
I had to find synchronized swimmers. I had to find a swimmer that was actually swimming after he jumped. It was supposed to be the same. We would think that would be the same person.
And where was the screwdriver at that point? Still in their mouth?
The screwdriver in the
swimming
mouth.
with the mouth.
And then someone having to jump hurdles and then jump on a bike and do competitive biking. And that had to be the same person. And so we auditioned major calls to all the different sports organizations in Quebec, and then we did hold the auditions in all the different. So we had to be in a pool.
Oh my God!
The swimmers and the divers on the 10-meter board with the screwdriver. There was no the client was insisting that everyone had to do a thing with the screwdriver.
So they had to audition, jump in the water, and this is an audition, not paid, with the screwdriver in their mouth. Straight into my God. That is nuts.
It was nuts. And then what I didn't know is that you need to have a very specialized lifeguard to guard the pool where all the diving boards are. And it's a different lifeguard than the one that is the pool next to it, because we were at a big Olympic pool. I think we were at the stadium.
Okay.
And that lifeguard was not coming in. So we were waiting for the lifeguard to arrive to hold the auditions.
And everybody's there in their bathing suit with a screwdriver in their mouth.
Yeah, exactly. And then and some were actors that were very, very good at the sport, and some were just professional athletes or athletes. But that were not at the Olympics, because remember, this was happening around the Olympics. So you can't, find actual Olympians because they're busy.
Just a little.
They're
a little
bit busy.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. I'm still, Maxime, just worried about them. I'm like, with that screwdriver, I'm like, but what if
diving from 10 meters with something in your mouth?
Screwdriver, what are you choking? Getting gagged? Like, I'm scared. And then they're like, we want to audition, 100 people doing this. I'm like, that is very dangerous.
There was no
100 people.
There was like a handful of people.
Of course. But who could do that? I mean, that is
But you found the one.
And I did.
Wow.
And the commercial is great.
I bet.
Really, it's a fantastic commercial. It's
but man, you guys worked for it. But wow, that's nuts. So that's a pretty memorable one.
Yeah, it's very
cool.
The life in casting, and that's what's so great about it, is that you just never know what you're going to be doing the next day.
Yeah.
Wow. From casting features to commercials, what do you think is the main difference between approaching a commercial or approaching a part in a feature film?
It has to do with the look, first and foremost.
Okay.
You may be the better actor in the world. If you don't have the look the client is looking for, you're not going to get that job.
Right.
It's that simple. So you have to get a really thick skin about this and not let it bother you. So that's the first thing. And also, we want results right away. When I work in fiction, you sometimes you don't have the luxury of getting a script. You get a couple of scenes, you get a character description, you get a log line or storyline. It's sometimes very vague. You don't necessarily what happened just before the sides that you got. So you come in with an incomplete idea of who this character is, and you're able to show who you are as an actor and what you've prepared, which I love to see, because I always get the actors to do, whether it's fiction or commercial, the first take is your proposition. Please show me what you've prepared. And after that, we try to either course correct if you're not at all where we want to go with you. And on fiction side, we have more time.
Right.
Let's explore together. We want to see your range.
Yeah.
We want to see, can you go from A to F, or can you go from A to Z? We want to see what you can do with this character. And it's the same for commercials, but commercials is very much concentrated. You have a lot less time. We're seeing other people. The tension is high because sometimes there's a lot of people in the room, whether it's a Zoom room or virtual room and an actual audition room. You are not introduced to any of these people. Sometimes, unfortunately, and that's a situation that I try to not have anymore, but sometimes they're in front of the computers and they're not even looking at it.
Right.
Because they are creatives. They have been asked to be present at the casting, but they have 3 other jobs that they have to
deadlines,
their accounts that they have to produce stuff. And I try to now, with the experience, to tell them how unfortunate that situation is and how discouraging it is for actors, because they come into a room and they see people that don't acknowledge their presence, that don't even look at them because they're concentrating on their computer. And I find that I try to not have this situation happen.
Yeah.
And that's why when you audition through a Zoom audition, we ask everyone to turn off their camera.
Yeah.
So you only see 1 or 2 people. So that's one of the big thing. And also for commercial, you have a lot less. Sometimes you get 2 takes, 3 takes, and that's it. And sometimes you spend 5 minutes top to audition. And so it's different. I mean, once again, sometimes you get 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending where you are in the process of auditioning for a role for fiction work.
It's a totally different game. But now you said they're very, like you said, the look is so important, fitting that archetype, if it's the mom or the dad or whatever. Has there been any surprises where somebody, who didn't necessarily fit that look, but they did something funny, different, interesting, where you were like, this guy can sell cars. He's not the guy, but he can sell this
That's what I do as a casting person.
Yeah.
That I bring a nice, and this might sound very silly, and it's a grocery list.
Yeah.
Like, okay, get us some tomatoes, but what type of tomatoes do you want? Do you want like cherry tomatoes? Do you want greenhouse tomatoes? There's a gazillion variety of tomatoes, and that's what actors are. They come in with their looks and their personality, and that fit that archetypes. Because I could bring 30 different mom types,
right?
But I also, as a casting person, always try to bring someone that may not fit it precisely, but I think they're good actors and they can bring their own flavors and their own special something. And not all the time, but most of the time, they go, oh, we didn't see the character like this at all. But that person's great. We love him or her. And then, or you bring in what you think they want, and then they go a complete different way with, oh, we saw someone else for another character. We'd like to see him again for this particular character, or book him from this audition. And it's just like very surprising, because sometimes they tell you something, and oftentimes like they give you an age range for a character, and then you brought in actors that in that age range, and then they look at that and then they realize it doesn't work. That person is too young or too old.
Right.
With that, so we have to start over, as we call it, recast. And sometimes they don't know until they see it.
Yeah, that's what I always say is like the audition process is the first time they're seeing things off of the page. And sometimes it's really surprising to them, you know, and it's almost like they're workshopping the script or the concept as you're auditioning, because like you had all these thoughts in your head and it's like we're actually seeing them, and certain things don't work. Like on paper they might work, but then in real life it's like, this is not
Or they
fitting.
listen to the dialogue and it's like, oh,
Yes.
this is like, this is unpronounceable for most people, and it's just like boring, and it's like, and they shorten it, they change it, they modify it, they try, okay, and then sometimes you have scripts with like the original line and then 5 alternatives.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then they find something that means what they want to tell, but is expressed with different words, and and you test it at casting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I always try and tell actors too, like you could inspire the director, or you could, you know, so it's not always set in stone. Yes, there's projects and directors that are very clear on what they want and they have their vision and you could get it for them. And then there's other projects that it's a work in progress and things move so fast that you know, if you go in and just be yourself and bring your choices confidently, you know, it could shift. And I feel like that's like the energy you have to go in with, because I mean, always, but if you think that there's opportunity to inspire someone, then maybe you'll go in a bit differently or with more confidence.
And as actors or as and directors are as diverse as actors. Some actors are very clear about what they're offering. Others they're still looking for it, or they don't know. And same as directors. Some actors have directors have very clear ideas what they're wanting to accomplish with that spot, the performance, the what is needed. Some come in very open-minded, hoping to explore and find, and some don't know until you show them what they, and they're not really great at explaining what they want. Because I always try to have a conversation with a director, especially if it's the first time we talk together. I get a brief. I get what they, because they're also pitching for the job. We're all freelancers in this world. So they're also hoping, they're auditioning as directors, because usually they ask 3 directors to do a pitch, their version of their idea of that script. So you get this book, which is their pitch book, and then you get all the aspect of the commercial, going from casting to location to music. So it's very nourishing as a casting person, but also what's more nourishing is having an actual conversation after you read that book.
Right.
And then, okay, so you've mentioned so and so, and then sometimes they give you roads to explore with your casting. Like, have you seen this particular show? Well, that actor, I want this energy. Sometimes it's about the energy. Sometimes it's about the look they want. Sometimes it's about, oh, we need someone with impeccable comedic timing. And also you want to know, when you're working with someone for the first time, their references, the types of actors that they enjoy. I have directors that love brunettes, just like personal thing.
Yeah, okay.
And sometimes they only cast brunettes, and it's just like, and you start to discover it as you get to work with them, and it's sometimes very strange. And types of actors also. I mean, some directors as a very clear preference for types of actors, and you try to offer them variety, and they still go back to that particular lane that they enjoy. And some directors are, you know, they change from project to project and really about the project. So you just get to know people, what turns them on, what they like, to try to give them what they want. There's a huge part in customer service, in a way.
Oh yeah.
In casting.
I think in casting, but even more so probably in commercials or network television,
Yes.
when it's the director you're dealing with and the client you're dealing with, the creatives, you're like, there's so many different heads who all want to be heard and want their voice to be the strong voice. And you're trying to find a bridge to please all of them.
Exactly.
I mean, that's hard.
That's very hard. And sometimes they butt heads.
Yes, they do. I know. I've been on set and the director's directing you one way and the client wants it a different way. And you're just standing there.
And the creative want to try this different reading than everyone else. And everyone wants to have their say on that set. Because we have to think that unlike a feature film where a director maybe wrote the script and it's his idea and his way, a director who's directing commercial is a director for hire.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the agency and the client are going to tell him or her. There are more and more female directors. And
yes.
That's fantastic. You may not agree with them, but that's how they want it. And you want the client to be happy and to hire you again. So you give them what they want.
If you're auditioning someone with no lines or one word, do you have any tips for how they should approach that?
I find that the SOC parts are often the toughest parts to cast.
And they have to be great.
And to audition for. I think what's important for the actor on the actor side is that just to understand what the concept is, to read it and try to figure out and get as many clues as possible from the breakdown. I try, like, my breakdowns are very detailed, but also when actors with people that have oftentimes more experience or made the effort to look at the sides and prepare.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. You've given us tons of information. Thank you. But before we wrap it up, what is on the plans for Maxime? Like, what are the next projects, any goals, dreams?
Whoever is listening and producing fiction work, call me.
Is that what? So you do a lot of commercials. You'd like to do more fiction. I know you.
I'd love to do more fiction. I'd love to have more. And it's also on me. I should pursue these opportunities and contact people. And I just don't. I mean, I'm very busy with commercials. Sometimes I don't have. Because when you work on a fiction work, it's very difficult to do commercials at the same time.
Right.
Because you're all immersed on a project and commercials takes you out of that, what you're trying to go into. I've been fairly successful in managing both, but sometimes you just have to say no for a few weeks or months and concentrate on a project, especially if it's a bigger scope project. I think a variety. I love variety. I love working in both languages. I just find it's so fun to switch from French or English or do both and just experiment with different people. It's like I'm a people person.
Right.
Yes.
And
I love working with nice people and people that are I'm blanking on the word that I'm trying to say. Sometimes my mind thinks in French and I'm speaking English. Creative people. There we go. J'avais gens créatifs.
Right. Creative people. Yes.
Creative people. I love working with creative people and I love working with nice people. I have the one luxury in life is that I can say no to projects now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's wonderful.
That is a luxury.
Not everyone gets to do that, and that's a privilege. It's really a privilege. So more fiction work, please.
Okay, more fiction work and staying in casting. You want to keep casting.
Oh my God.
Yes. So you're in your field. As we say in French, je suis sur mon X. Oh, wonderful. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, you're good at it, and we always love seeing you. So Awesome. Thank you, Maxim.
thank you.
Thank you. And thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
sharing all this
much.
information. I think
Yeah.
you definitely demystified the commercial process. I think for all the listeners, they're gonna, and understand what you guys are going through too. Like there are changes. It is high stress. There is a lot of people, but you are genuinely interested in what they can do and what they can showcase, and you love watching their stuff.
Oh, I love it. I'm like,
Bring it.
I'm a
Yeah.
spectator. I love that. Because
Yeah.
all I like I think the one thing I'd like to say is that
Yes. Of course.
is that as a casting director, the only power, and like I'm saying, quote unquote, we have is for you to let you in, or not let you in. Basically,
Yes.
I opened the door for you to come and do your little show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, the rest does not belong to me or you as an actor.
Right.
You
Yeah.
come, you audition, and then you have to be happy with your audition. The rest is like, it's beyond your
The
control.
casting gods will do
And
what
it's
they're going to
also
do.
beyond my control because there's a misconception. People think we have the final say.
Well, I was
We
going
do
to
not
ask.
have- We do not have final say.
No.
The client has final say. We can all, as different people, work and recommend this particular performer to the client. And everyone's aligned. We love this actor or this actress. We think they're the best to embody this character. And the client ultimately looks at the audition and said, no, I don't want this person to be in my spot.
You're
Yeah.
like, okay.
And we're all, sometimes dumbfounded. We don't understand. And then there's client has final say. If I may give an advice, yes,
Yes.
just as an actor, whether for whatever audition, just be, once you close that door or that Zoom call ends or the self-tape is sent, you should be happy with what you did. The rest does not belong to you.
Right.
The rest is beyond your control. Just let it go. And that's what we see. We see the people that get parts is the ones that are very confident in what they have to offer. And then it was like, okay, my job is done. Bye. And then I'll let you decide.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes those are the people that get the parts.
Good
Be proud of
takeaway.
good takeaway.
Be
Yes.
proud of what you do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Maxime. We're going to do our takeaways. So for today's takeaways, come with your choices, but be open to direction. 2, do the preparation. It makes a difference. 3, be enthusiastic. It could give you the advantage. And 4, be proud of what you do and find the joy in it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.